Y is recorded in front of a live studio audience.
And then what if there was like naked jousting?
Oh, yeah. Would you be on horseback? You'd have to be on horseback.
I think so. It worked for Lady Godiva.
I did, but did she have a saddle?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
Just very long hair.
literally bareback. Yeah. No,
Mhm.
it. I don't know if nudity on a horse really works out in so many ways.
Well, it didn't work out in this movie I just saw.
Oh,
Meaning to ask you about.
okay, here we go.
Have you ever seen the film Reflections of a Golden Eye?
I have not.
Are
It's
you familiar with it?
yes, it's the John Huston, is it
No,
heroin movie?
I don't think
Correct?
that's heroin.
Oh.
It's everything else though.
Right, I was gonna say it's an addiction kind of movie, right? Is it directed by John Huston?
It is John Huston.
Okay.
It is there's a lot of mental illness.
Okay.
There's a lot of closeted sexuality. There's a lot of just there's a lot of naked guy on a horse.
Really? Okay. Well,
There's
now, is that naked guy on
murder.
the horse Marlon Brando?
It is not. But
Okay.
Marlon Brando wishes he was on the horse.
Don't we all wish we were on the
Right.
horse?
Yeah, it's Elizabeth Taylor, Marlon Brando, Brian Keith, which it's really hard to see Brian Keith and not see Buffy.
Mm, sure.
Um, and Julie Harris.
Well, and you're forgetting my favorite, Robert Forster.
True. It is a fascinating film. It is not a good film,
Okay.
but it is a film you cannot look away from because it also, when you think of the time it was made and the multi layers of subject matter that they are trying to address,
Right.
it's a fascinating film.
That's kind of John Huston for you.
That's true, but it's odd that I'd never seen it or heard of it till recently.
mm. I mean, he made Wise Blood, the adaptation of the Flannery O'Connor book, not realizing it was all allegorical and all religious.
Well,
No one told him until the rap party, apparently.
it happens.
Yeah, no one's perfect.
No,
But so I did you like it?
no, I didn't
Okay,
like it, but I couldn't turn away from it.
right.
I was fascinated by it,
Mm.
and it's just fascinating. But there is a lot of naked guy on a horse.
This is Why.
All right.
Your hosts, Heidi Hedquist and Luke Poling.
And Prince Andrew. They keep bringing him up that he's getting done, but he has nothing else to do. Let's be honest.
Look at all those teddy bears, like those, those teddy bears are getting humped like crazy. And that's all of his transgressions.
Oh, can you imagine like being one of the like I guess housekeeper is the right term because they are keeping the house standing.
Mhm.
Just have to walk into every room with your hands over your eyes, being like, "Is it cool in here? We
I
good?"
know, I
And
know.
even if there's no one there, it's just like, "Please let this be okay for me to come in here and clean up." You know, there's like empty glasses of stuff sitting on everything that should not have empty glasses of liquids sat upon.
Mhm.
You know, there's cigarette ashes all over that house.
Sure.
You know those dogs are not going to be. I suspect it's going to be more a burden upon the people assisting the royals than the royals themselves.
Well, I feel like Fergie will take care of it.
Yeah, but I mean, like Andrew's not taking him out for walkies. That's what I'm
No,
saying.
but she will. And the
She
girls will
might.
come and do it. They're girls for the crazy they grew up in.
Eugene, what's her
They're
name?
solid. Beatrice and Jeannie.
Okay, halfway there. Um, yeah. What does Randy think about all this?
She's not here right now.
Oh, I would love to hear her weigh in on the
I
state of the
know. We'll
monarchy.
have to ask her later. We'll hear later.
It's interesting. You've sort of been on our list for someone to talk to, and then this summer, my 8-year-old got obsessed with Greece, and I was like, "How am I going to impress him?" And
Oh, I wish I brought my Marty Maraschino picture for you. I
uh,
showed it to him, taking a screenshot.
but he was like, really? It's like, yeah, pink lady. It's not a
Yeah.
big deal. Don't worry about it.
Oh, look. Oh my gosh. My aunt just brought me this. So
There
if
you
you
go.
screenshot that with me
Yep,
and then say I said hello to him.
I will definitely let him know. He will be very
Okay.
excited.
All right.
So I guess to start, I mean, you grew up in a entertainment family, for lack of a better term. Um, you you have experience on sets. Was it sort of, was Grease the big oh my god, I can't believe this is all coming together as it seemed for everybody else, or was this just another film that you were on at that point?
Well, when I got Grease was my first movie. Hi, Heidi.
Hi.
I'll start over on my answer again. I just wanted to say hi first.
Yeah.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Thanks for being here.
So, so I had no idea Grease was any big deal. It was my first movie. I was 21. I had done a bit of television before then.
Mm-hmm.
And, mostly I was intimidated as hell and very nervous and thought it was going to be like, a lark, except that John Travolta was in it. And he was, at that time, he was so hot. I mean, he was so sizzling hot that I knew that I was part of something that was a big deal. You know what I mean? But I didn't have any feelings about this is a big deal for me. Because I was like, oh my God, I hope they don't find out I'm just a fraud. I'm not a dancer. I'm not really a singer. And, all I know how to do is shimmy my shoulders and purse my lips. And
what else do you need? I mean, really.
Well, so I found out.
Right. I mean, all I wanted to do was be Marty Maraschino. I knew I couldn't be Sandy, but Marty was amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
And is it weird to have this sort of follow you around since then?
Let me just ask you a question. Are you getting any noise from the outside noise?
Nope,
Okay, good.
we are not.
I've got my earphones in. Good. Okay, can you ask me that again?
Sure. Are you surprised that it continues to sort of follow you around and be a thing out there in the world?
Well, as you said to me when I first came on, that your 8-year-old son has just become obsessed with Grease. So now I'm not surprised, but I was surprised when my little sister, who is 15 years younger than me, finally looked at me with awe in her eyes when she was about 8 years old, because I had been Marty Maraschino in Grease. And I thought, wow, this is really something. She wasn't, around really then when it came out. I mean, she was around, but not really aware. And now every Halloween I open my door to a gaggle of pink ladies singing Summer Nights to me. And so now I'm no longer surprised.
That's amazing. Do you ever slam the door in their face and say no candy for you?
Every time.
No.
No. The only place I draw the line is when parents ask me if I will come and see their children in a production of Grease.
No.
And I say, if my kid's not on stage, I don't go.
Yes, those are words to
Fair.
live by as a high school theater girl all the way. I go to all my niece's performances because all the family had to sit through mine. It's a way I give back, pay my due, but nobody else's. If you're not related.
You can imagine how many parents have asked me to see their children's performance of Grease.
Oh, it has to be. Plus, it's awkward as a high school production. We did it in my high school, and it just feels weird in a high school production, even though it's about high school and we all grew up loving it. It just feels weird on the high school stage. That's amazing.
Well, I was just in Liverpool doing a Grease reunion autograph signing. And this was a trip and a treat. And Barry Pearl, who played Duty, and Jamie Donnelly, who played Jan, and our director, Randall Kleiser, was there, Michael Tucci was there, Kelly Ward was there. We had the best time together because really, I've never really gotten to know my cast members as, you know, I wouldn't want to say grown-ups because we were actually grown-ups when we did the movie, but in this stage of our life, to come together and to really talk to each other about what our lives have been. And then the fans, oh my God, the fans in Liverpool were so delicious. And, you know, they were all dressed up and there were thousands of them. And we had the best time. And so, you know, in the light of that kind of excitement, that we could bring that kind of excitement to these lovely people who, you know, just love this movie. And I can't tell you how many kids came up to me, not just kids, but grown-ups, and said, Grease changed my life. And I was like, how? You know, how? Well, you know, one boy was gay and it was the first musical he did and it helped him come out. And, you know, another girl was shy, but she saw this musical and she, you know, I mean, it was like one thing after another. So, you know, more power to it.
That's amazing. It just spans everything. And it's so wonderful to hear that about you and the cast. We've been fortunate to interview some iconic members of some iconic casts. And when we hear that there's sort of not just that shared experience, but that shared love of one another, whether it's you've spent time together over the years or you haven't and you're rediscovering who you are, it just makes the love of the film and everyone in it even more for the fans. So it's always so great to hear that.
Yeah, it was a love fest. It really was. Yeah.
How does that compare? Because I know, I can't remember how many seasons Empty Nest was, but that's got to be 7. The only other kind of the only other job you had where you spent a good chunk of time with the same actors and friends and you're working together.
Grease was a summer. Empty Nest was a short lifetime.
Yeah.
Exactly. And like, do you keep in touch with them as well? Or, I mean, because it seems like
I keep in very close touch with David Leisure and with Christy McNichol. Richard unfortunately passed away, and you know, I wish I was still in touch with Richard because I loved him so much and miss him so much. And but Chris and Dave and I still talk.
That's awesome. That was such a great show too. I mean, our producer was just at Golden Con in Chicago.
So was I.
I know. And you were, first of all, like when she said you were going to be there, I was like, oh, I should change my plans and go because I so wanted to see you. And then she came back and she said, as amazing and wonderful, and she's a huge Golden Girls fan. She's like, you won't believe how amazing Dinah was. It was the greatest thing of the whole conference. Everyone was so excited. It was so incredible.
Funny.
She's so wonderful. She's the most amazing human being. And so, I mean,
I wish she had introduced herself to me. Did I meet her?
I don't think you did. I know, but not because of you, just because of the crowd and everybody. But
well,
she was.
Listen, there's nothing I love more than being in a bevy of drag queens. I was I mean, these are my, you know, not a lot of drag queens on Bainbridge Island. So I was like, I'm home. Oh my God. You know, I felt like Auntie Mame, you know, returning home.
Yes.
It was so much fun. And again, another love fest. I mean, this love of the Golden Girls and the fans. I mean, they could quote every line from the show. It was so amazing. I met such marvelous people there. It was a happening. It was a true happening. I just hope they ask me back because, you know, I'd go every year.
I'm sure they will. I'd be shocked if they didn't. Shocked. And it was such a huge hit. And the fact that it was the first, that they hadn't done it before.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, she felt the same way. I mean, just incredible. And
for an actor, it seems like it's a great fortune to have one project that connects so much with people and has a resonance throughout the years. And for you to be involved with 2 separate, you know, universes, as it were, that had such a resonance Unless, is there an Ordinary People con that I just haven't
That
heard
would
of
be
yet?
depressing.
Yeah,
Oh,
that would
yeah.
kind of be a downer.
All the suicidal folk,
Yeah.
you know, coming.
You have
Yeah,
to do
no.
that here in Detroit too. So
No, but
Oh.
you know, I do have a lot of people do come up to me to talk to me about Ordinary People or soap or and unfortunately Chucky is, you know, child's play because I was
Yeah.
Chucky's first victim. Apparently that's quite a thing. I'll tell you a funny story if you have a moment. So
We do.
right before the pandemic, for several years before the pandemic, I was teaching acting and improv at a women's prison in Washington State, which I have to tell you is the best gig I've ever had. You know, it was so good for me. And I think good for them too. Anyway, so on the first day of class, my group comes in and, you know, I tell them who I am and what I've done because I want them intimidated. I mean, I'm with max offenders.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
I want them to know I'm not just some, you know, chick from down the street, right? So there was one woman that I could not impress. Her name was DMAC. If she ever hears this, I'm probably in a lot of trouble. Her name was DMAC. DMAC was tough, man. She was really tough. And she would sit there like this. No matter what stories I told or what improv I gave them, she would just look at me like this. And then one day I opened up the circle talking about genre. And I said, you know, we talked about horror films. I said, I did a horror film. I was in Child's Play. And I see DMAC and she goes, Child's Play? I said, yeah, I was Chucky's first victim. And she says, you Aunt Maggie? I said, yeah, DMAC. I'm Aunt Maggie. And I had her for the rest
There
of the
you
session.
go.
It was like,
Perfect.
oh, thank God for Aunt Maggie.
Whatever it takes. You never know what role is going to resonate, right?
But I have signed a lot of Chucky dolls since then, let me tell you.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sure. Do
How
you
did
have
you-
a Chucky doll?
I don't. And I
Yeah,
don't want one. So
No.
Yeah.
don't send me one.
I would never. But, you know, some people want that memory haunting them. I just would.
No.
Yeah,
no.
I'm with you.
How did you get into teaching in prison?
The true story is that my oldest son was killed in a car accident when this was 5.5 years ago, and he was 19. And I became non-functional.
Yeah.
And what I knew, though, about myself and about healing and recovery was that I needed to find a way to give back so that I could have a break from how I was feeling.
Mm.
And so I had in the back of my mind for years having this program. I just thought it would be so cool, you know, to do that. And so I kind of drew up a semi-curriculum, and I was able to track down the people who I had to contact to do this work. And I met with them and I pitched my idea for this class. And I think from the time I sent them the email, they were like, yeah, come on, hurry up, because I'm free, you know. I'm not charging anything. And I'm bringing in this program. And so I started to go in. I brought in a former student of mine, you know, to help me and to, you know, give me a little backup. And what I found was, because it was only 3 months after Dashiell died that I started this program, what I found was that for 2 hours a week, because that's how long I was in there, I was okay. And not only was I okay, I was having a really good time for 2 hours a week. And I never told them, of course, what had happened or why I was there, nor did I ever ask them why they were there.
Mhm.
We met purely on this plane of discovering and entertaining each other. And I kept the subject matter light in there because they need light in there. I don't go to anything that's going to open up a can of worms, because I'm not a psychologist, and there's a lot of, issues heavy in there. But for 2 hours a week, we really, a light just turned off. Well, you don't care because you're not looking at me on the screen.
We're good.
For 2 hours a week, we laughed so hard that the guards would come down to the classroom to make sure everybody was
That's
okay.
awesome. I love
And so
it.
that's how I started teaching. I taught there for 3 years.
That's wonderful.
Until COVID hit.
When you always hear about people saying, well, I taught this and it helped me as much as it helped them, and it feels like that is very much your case, that it was
Absolutely. It was a bridge back to sanity for me. I mean, really, yeah.
Have you kept in touch or heard what has happened to any of your former pupils? Have they been able to?
You're not allowed to.
You're
it's
not
allowed. Nope.
Okay.
I can't know anything about them. I'm not allowed to keep in touch with them. And but I do keep in touch with the staff down there. My class was accredited in their high school 21 program. So I had minimum, medium, and max students, none of whom had gotten their high school degrees, ages 21 to 80, I think, was one student. And it was extraordinary. It was an extraordinary experience. So I'm hoping to get back, but they're still not opening up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully. That's
pretty cool, eh?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, that's incredible. That really is. That's wow.
Yeah.
I mean, compared to Child's Play, it was Child's Play.
Well, Child's Play was a big hit there. So
yeah.
Wow. And it was a big hit out here too.
Out here, yeah.
I know. It's funny.
Chucky Con's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I've done Chiller, whatever that is, Chiller. My mom and I did Chiller together because she had done a movie called Omen 2. And I was from Child's Play, so they brought us in to sign autographs. Man, she was so popular. It was so great. She had so much fun. She was like, before she did it, she had never done one of these before, and I had done a couple of them. Before she did, she's like, I don't know, nobody's gonna like me. What am I doing? I'm like, trust me, you are fresh Oscar-winning meat at this. The line was around the block. She had lots of cash in her hand. She was like, whoa.
It's so awesome. I was a huge original Omen 2 fan, as well. I completely would have been in line. I wouldn't have known who to talk to first if I was there, which is
it's really fun.
But you do think about that with even as a kid going to different cons as a visitor, you think about what if I was here when I'm famous someday, and what if nobody came to my table? What would I do?
Yeah. Well,
but I do feel like
I have had it happen, where I was in a bad location, a bad table, and you just go get a sandwich.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see the rise of that, because it seems like it gives you a chance, a completely different chance to see the effect your work has had on other people in a very firsthand kind of way.
I think that's true, but that's not why I do it. I mean, for me, I wrote a novel that was published last year. For me, it's an opportunity for me to sell the book. And because I am not a good self-promotioner or marketer, and I don't like doing self-promotion or marketing, what I did, like in Liverpool, I had my publisher had a bunch of books printed up in London and shipped to Liverpool. And I was able to, sell stacks and stacks because this is what I'm working on, and this is what I want to share. And, as an author, you don't get to have that interchange with people unless you go out and really hawk the book. And so, when my book was published, we were still in the throes of COVID, and I couldn't do any book readings, bookstore readings. I couldn't do a book tour. So, I use these opportunities now to promote my novel, which I think is a really fun novel and is called The Real True Hollywood Story of Jackie Gold. And it is available on Amazon or whatever other website you want to get it on, and DinahManoff.com you can get it on. And it is a blast.
What took you down the path for that particular story?
Well, I was inspired by, and inspired's a hard word to use for this situation, but I was inspired by what happened to Princess Diana when the paparazzi chased her to her death.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, when I was on Empty Nest, I had, paparazzi. I mean, this is before TMZ, this is before cell phones, this is before everybody's life was made public, and the rag magazines like the Inquirer, the Star, were the big names in celebrity gossip and dirt. And right around the time that Princess Diana was killed, a guy showed up at my door. I had just had my first child. And he showed up at my door. He was from the Inquirer and wanted to ask me questions about my child's paternity. Mm. And I had a newborn in the other room. I was still breastfeeding. I was in my robe. And I was so shaken because up until then, they had written dumb stories like I dye my hair to match the dog's fur,
right.
What boyfriend do I? It was all silly stuff that I could ignore and, didn't matter. But this was such a violation that I was shaking. And I screamed and I chased him off my lawn, screaming at him, and called a lawyer and said, however, I had some connections to someone who I knew could shut down whatever they were going after. I didn't want to be part of it. Not that there was really anything to go after.
It doesn't matter.
But it didn't matter. You know what I'm saying? That to come to me with that. And so that gave me the premise for this story, which is about a big movie star, which I was not, but a big movie star who is chased by the paparazzi and falls to her almost death. And she tells her story in flashback from the hospital bed where she's lying in a coma. And so that's what sparked it. And it took me a long time to write it. I started it as a workshop piece. I learned to writing the novel because I had not been an English major. I had been a juvenile delinquent. And so I had a lot of catching up to do. And then, finally, I felt like I had a real draft together and I sent it out. And I was lucky enough to get a nice independent publisher.
Usually the question is sort of like, oh, did you always want to be a writer? But, I mean, do you enjoy the process? Do you want to do it again?
I am writing. I'm not writing another novel right now. I'm working on something else that I don't want to talk about.
We don't have to.
We're not like that guy. Yeah. We will take no for an answer.
But I will tell you about my children's paternity.
Yeah.
Excellent. And as long as you'll be willing to tell us about it when you're ready to talk about it again, then we're golden.
Yeah. I'd always written, but once, I started acting pretty young. I was 17 when I had my first job, and acting just seemed, easier. Mm-hmm. I was raised in a show business family. My mom, is Lee Grant, and my stepfather was a producer. My father was a screenwriter, and it was just like, oh yeah, I'd been cueing my mother on scripts from the time I could read, and it didn't seem like a big leap to me. I mean, I can't even say that I studied acting. I mean, I went to acting classes, but I was a beach kid, and I learned acting the way I learned writing. I learned it by going to the job and learned to be more disciplined and learned a craft. But I didn't start out that way, And actually, my character in the book has a lot of similarities in that. She starts out as a kid in Malibu Colony like I did, and has, feelings of being maybe fraudulent in the beginning of her career, which I certainly felt in the beginning of mine.
And what has the reception been to the book with fans? And I mean,
it's been great. I mean, I couldn't ask for more except to, somehow we can wait till can you hear the phone ringing?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
We can answer it
That's
for
As
you.
soon as we start, as soon as it stops, as soon as we talk about it, it stops.
Yes.
The reception of the book has been great. I mean, it's been wonderful. However, what I have learned about publishing, and it's been a very steep learning curve for me, is that it's very hard to get people to read your book, and it's hard to get people to review your book. And so, I feel lucky that I've been able to sell as much as I have.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be recording an Audible version in the next couple of months. And that's been another big learning process about, how the hell do I do that? It's like, what? But I've got a distributor who wants me to record it. And so I'm, cobbling together some ideas. I think I'm going to use other actors to read some of the parts, because I don't have an innate vocal talent for playing 150 different characters. It's just, who knew that's what you do? So.
Right. So you ascribe to the deep end theory of work and everything else. Just
throw myself into the
agree to it and figure it out later.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Works every time.
Yep.
That's fascinating. So what do you have coming up? Are you working on anything new? Are you still, given the fact that I think the book came out, was it last June, I believe, last summer?
Yeah, a year ago,
spring?
June. Yeah.
Only then were things slowly starting to open up. Are you finally kind of be able to get out there and talk about it and share it with people? Or do you have other projects you've got coming up?
I love my life. That's just the truth. I live on this beautiful island. I ride horses 3 times a week. I garden. I still have 2 boys who are getting launched. They are, 20, but had a little setback because of COVID. They graduated in that COVID high school graduation year. So they're just starting to get their sea legs under them. And I have a fabulous husband who I'm totally crazy about. And so I don't feel like, I used to feel a need to create for ambition and for money and for ego and for, passion. I don't have that anymore. My passion is actually my life. And what a wonderful place to have arrived at in this lifetime. I wasn't sure I would ever get there.
Yeah.
But that's the truth. My passion is my life. So I'm writing, but I'm writing from a place that I've never written before. And for me, the writing now is all exploration, because I wasn't educated as a writer, and I want to try new mediums, and I want to learn. So I'm learning. That's really what I'm doing. I'm in several workshops. I'm learning. I'm soaking it up, and yeah.
That's wonderful.
Isn't that why we do all the crazy things, is to get where you are and be able to enjoy it? Dream of riding horses 3 times a week. I mean,
she had you
that's
with
my
that.
therapy.
Yes. It would be mine too. And being on an island.
Yeah, it's my therapy. Well, come to it's all possible.
Oh.
Don't put that on. I don't want people to know.
Nope.
Please. I get enough mail somehow where I'm tracked down. Yeah.
No, we will not include that. But I may turn up.
Seattle area.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
The Real True Hollywood Story of Jackie Gold by Dinah Manoff is available right now wherever you get your books. For more information, check out her website, dinahmanoff.org, or you can follow her on Facebook, where she's at The Dinah Manoff.
You can check us out on all the various socials. Be sure to visit our website, and don't forget to leave us a review.
Today's show is produced by myself and Heidi Hedquist. Our reluctant producers are John Sauvé and Sandy Stone. Our willing producers are Rachel Allen and Randy Jeanette. Our intern is Zach Jackson. This one's for Philippe. Thanks for joining us. Flash, we're coming home.
Nigel, is that you? Are you here, Nigel?